are. We're live on
Oh,
Wi-Fi, so
Excellent. We are live. Sorry about that, guys.
okay, I have to hit my mute. See, there's too many buttons, man.
And then
you got this. You got it.
Here we
Turn
go.
any slogan or funny quote into a professional
Darn,
design
darn.
in just
What did I
minutes with
hit?
one.
I hit something.
Oh.
Okay. I think we are good, except I have like sound coming from everywhere. I apologize. I apologize for all the sound happening. I'm gonna get off my phone one. I'm gonna go back to this one.
Text-only designs, whether that's shirts or anything
And
else,
I have
used
no
to be
idea
so
why there's an
hard.
ad
That's a
coming
thing in
on.
the
This is
past, because now
hilarious.
Kindle has all of the fonts,
View my
text
channel.
effects.
Let's stop that nonsense.
Interference.
Okay,
Maybe.
and mute. There we go. And now I can open it and see the chat for when people join us. Hello, hello, and hello to everybody out there in internet land and YouTube. If you don't know me, I am B Freedom, and I am here on the U Movement to talk tonight of an episode with U Talk with Chelsea Williamson, who's coming to us from Utah. Chelsea describes herself as the healer you didn't know you need. Well, that's good because we all need that person we don't know that we need. The forgiver, the fear doctor, the activator, a channeler, and a polarity princess. So I'm interested in that one because we talk a lot about polarity here on the channel.
Oh,
So
good.
I'm going to hop back into Zoom here and minimize this. So many windows, so many what's happenings, just so that I can see. And I'm going to move us over into speaker mode so it goes between, or so it should. Welcome everyone to tonight's show. Without further ado, welcome Chelsea. I'm so glad to have you on the show tonight. I'd love for you to start by just giving everybody a little bit of background about who you are and more to the point, who you were before this lovely awakening process began for you.
Okay. Who am I? I mean, I'm you and you are me. I know it's corny, but it's true. It's true. We are all one here. But anyway, who was I? I mean, so I grew up being a good girl, listening obediently to parents, authority, but I was also like this brave little Tom girl. So like the kids would always come and knock on my door. Can you come out and play? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's go build a tree fort. Let's go ride our bikes off the ramps. Like I was like a born leader, you know? And I attribute that to my mother. She was very masculine, very in her masculine energy. So I got a lot of that. And I was that way until I was 10. Remind me if I'm being long-winded. I can be very long-winded. I'm writing a book right now. So just kind of, if you need to get me back on track, let me know. But when I was 10, I had my very first traumatic incident. I'm from New Jersey. 9/11 happened. And that like cracked my brain open because it was so close to home. It was my first introduction in life to like, oh my God, people can die. Oh my God, people can do that to other people. You know, well, that's how I was thinking at the time. So that was my introduction to like my first eating disorder. I was afraid to eat. That's when therapy and counseling came in. And so that was like the end of my childhood. That was like my very first moment of like, oh my God, there's bad things in the world. And I no longer was that brave little girl. I was paranoid. I didn't communicate with people because I no longer could. I no longer resonated with any of my peers. And while a lot of people seemed unbothered by that event, it just shook me to the core. It shaped who I was for many, many years. And it wasn't until I turned 17 and I got into alcohol, cigarettes, weed, that I found an identity in that. And so I became arrogant. I became cocky. I was like, yeah, I'm this party girl. My parents, thank you. really, because they helped me out a lot. But they bought me my first car. I was living rent free. I didn't have to worry about where I was spending my money. I was living life, you know, I had no worries. And then it wasn't until I got into my first narcissistic relationship. And I'm, again, like, love to everyone. I am not a victim. I am not blaming anybody here, but it was my first, what I would call an abusive relationship. And while it wasn't physical, and I didn't recognize it as abusive at first, it was definitely emotionally, mentally, verbally abusive. And I didn't know how to handle it because I wasn't used to someone treating me that way. And this person was very magnetic because they were very intellectual. They introduced me to the metaphysical world. And while I was raised Catholic, it just blew my mind in the most magical way that there was something beyond what we can see. And so that was like my introduction to the spiritual world. And along with that, I was introduced to conspiracy theories. I was introduced to both the good and the bad of the world. And so it was exciting. It was like all this, you know what's out there. You all know what's out there. I'm not going to get into that. But it wasn't until 2015, I remember I had finally gotten away from this person. And it was hard. It was so hard. I'm sure you know how hard it is to get away from someone like that. And I remember standing with my feet in the water in New Jersey. And I had this, it was the first time I ever felt energy in my body. I didn't recognize it, but it felt horrible. It was anxiety. And I was like, I always thought that like God loved me because of my upbringing in the Catholic Church. But for the first time in my life, I questioned that. I was like, I drink alcohol. I party. I take advantage of people. I'm arrogant. What do I contribute to this world? Nothing, you know? And I was like, wow, I'm really a piece of shit. And I'm like connecting all the dots on the map of like the apocalypse or like the end of the world, whether it's FEMA camps, AI, whatever. I just started to connect all these dots in my head and I'm like, holy shit, I think I'm going to hell, right? And this is going to get real deep, B. Like, I'm not going to lie. This is going to get kind of dark, but...
That's all right. Everybody on my channel's used to dark. The awakening process is dark. If we don't absorb the dark and recognize the dark, then we can't appreciate the light. So
that is...
hence the logo.
So true. Oh, I love that. It's so true. It is so true. You don't know what you have until you don't have it. I had myself convinced I was going to hell. I believed it with like, I want to say every part of my being, but that's not true. I believed it with every bit of my mind, but I knew in my heart, she kept calling me. She's calling me in. She's like, just come here. Come here. I love you. And I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense up here because I'm very smart. I'm very analytical, and my mind, and the more research I did, the deeper I dug this hole I was in. And I was stuck like that for a year and a half. I knew what it was like to be without hope. I knew what it was like to want to die. I knew what it was like to feel without God or connection, to be alone. And I felt all these things. I was in the psychiatric ward my first 2 times. I've been in a total of 5. So if you're thinking you're crazy, we all are, you know. I am. But where was I going with that? Yeah, so it was just a really hard time. And at that point, I was a loner. The only people who were around me were on the same wavelength as me. They weren't no help. Again, God bless them. Like, we just would, people that I was around, we were just sulking in our own shit all day. So it was one day I was sitting in a friend's house, and I remember sitting on her couch, and she would speak life into me. Like, God loves you no matter what, you know, Jesus this, like just preaching to me basically. And I sat there and I said a little prayer with all my heart. And I said, God, I will do anything to be with you. That day I get into a car accident with a woman named Grace, and I totaled my car. And well, it was her fault, but I mean, I wasn't completely innocent. Anyway, point of the story, I took that money and I met my first, I don't like to put labels on people because sometimes you think there's something and then they end up not being. But at the time, this person was my twin flame. I met him, and I had so many questions and he had so many answers. And we built that trust. He was introducing ideas and perspectives to me that I had never heard and I had never run into in all my research. And so after 2 months, I moved to Memphis, Tennessee to go live with this person. And that's where the real work started, the Kundalini awakening, the real abuse. And again, like, I'm so thankful this person came into my life. Like, I respect this person. I have no hatred toward this person. But I remember sitting in the closet. I knew I had to meditate. I knew it was time. I had been afraid to meditate because there's a lot of stuff that teaches you it's evil, or I don't know if anyone's heard of that, but yeah, like a lot of religious things teach against that. But anyway, so I started meditating in my closet. I had a little chair in there. And I remember the day my third eye started clicking, like making like a popping sensation. And I could feel energy rising up my back. And I was also, I don't know the boundaries of what we could talk about here, but I was also doing like, I was like harvesting sexual energy, which was helping my chakras wake up. And I remember sitting on the couch one day and I'm looking at the front door and I had this thought. It was like, something's going to happen. Watch. 2 seconds later, a paper slid under the door and I was like, I'm psychic. I knew it. You know, so like my gifts really started to come online. And I mean, the rest, like I said, I'm writing a book. The rest is going to be in my book. Like there's just, and that was 2017. We're in 2024 now. So there's 7 more years that I could get into. So your question was, who was I before? That was who I was before. And then now we're on the actual process. And then, so I don't really know where we're going.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into this whole concept that, you know, you were in the midst of an existential crisis with your feet in the water, and you're saying to yourself, listen, I'm doing an audit of my life, and I am not a good person. And was that judgment that came to you because of your behaviors? Or because of the indoctrination? You said you were raised in the Catholic Church. So were you made to believe at that moment in time that you were not worthy because you weren't acting in accordance to the church, or you weren't acting in accordance to your own soul?
It was kind of like a what would Jesus do kind of moment. Like I remember thinking of Jesus and thinking that he was probably like, nah, girl, you don't cut it. You don't cut the grade. Like, and what actually triggered all this was I had started going to a church because I was trying to escape this person that I was dating. And I got so close to the pastor's wife that we were texting back and forth, and she just goes, so to answer your question, I think it was a little bit of both. It was my behavior in conjunction with indoctrination, because she texted me one day and she goes, sweetheart, when it comes time, you're going to go to heaven. And I was like, what do you mean it comes time? And she goes, yeah, some people go to hell and some people go to heaven. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't know there was like, it was like my first taste of duality, really, because before that, I didn't really have that concept of like that, like there would be a moment in time where it would split off, you know? And so that caused me to dig deep into the book of Revelations in the Bible, which like to this day, I'm not ready to touch the Bible. I don't know if I ever will, because I traumatized the shit out of myself with that book. But anyway, it was that moment paired with, I went to go see, at the time, the new Terminator came out, Judgment Day or whatever. And they say in the first like 5 minutes of the movie, like, this is Judgment Day, and those who are left behind have to deal with the robots or whatever. And it kind of like everything just happened all at the same time. And I don't think, I don't think that was coincidental. Like it just triggered so many thoughts in my head. Like, I'm like, Judgment Day. Oh, this is a thing. Am I going to make the cut? That's what triggered that. So, because the guy I was with at the time, the one who introduced me to metaphysics, he was an Aquarius. If you know anything about Aquarius, they're the knowledge pourers. I trusted him. I trusted everything he said because he's the one who was delivering the messages to me, the knowledge to me. So I trusted everything he said. So I was like, well, if he's saying that they put the truth in movies, then it must be the truth,
Mm.
But then we can get into timelines and all kinds of things, that's fun.
So you were very much an open vessel.
Yes.
That was perhaps in a sense too open because
Yes.
you were able to like receive information without a filter. Without the filter of your own level of discernment at this stage. So at some point, your vision, your discernment had become perhaps disabled from that moment when you were young and you saw that the world wasn't this safe place anymore and something cracked for you. And that thing that cracked for you is held you in a place of time that when you move forward, you're like, okay, I'm going to take in any information now because I don't know. I don't everything. It's like it's almost like a flashback, an emotional flashback to that time when what is good, what is evil, what's happening to the world. I don't know. Somebody let me know the information so I can feel safe again.
Right. And that's the problem was I was running around like, I know people who've read so many spiritual books, and I'm sure there's a lot of good information out there, and it probably wouldn't hurt me to pick some up. But when you listen to other people, have you ever broken down the word advice?
No, go give it to me.
When you break down the word advice, you get advice. You add a vice to your life. So it's like adding something bad to your life because you no longer are listening to yourself. And when you are the one who knows best in your situation, like I could do sessions for people and I could really help people. But at the end of the day, one of my favorite people that I turn to, she says, trust you over me. And I hold that true.
Absolutely.
Always.
Absolutely. The path back to self is about reconnecting with the own internal guru within, and following that own intuitive voice. But the problem is that when people experience trauma, trauma comes along and it disables our trust in our own intuition. And so then we seek out external counsel, as you say, advice, and then it becomes advice where we're constantly looking and this is a common experience for a lot of people that have experienced trauma. We're constantly seeking external validation and external help. I know it certainly holds true for me. So yes, it means that you take on, you've got some blinders on and somebody's feeding you and you're open and somebody's feeding you all kinds of information. You're like, oh, this person is leading me to something good. But the lesson therein lies what? What was the lesson for you? At what point were you like, hey, wait a second here, something's not adding up?
Oh, well, there's been several times in my life where I learned, probably just recently. I had a tarot card addiction for like 2 years. I don't touch them. I don't watch them because after 2 years of hearing the same message come through, when I finally decided to listen to my heart, that was the truth. Because I even went to readers of all kinds, whether they were energetic readers or healers. And again, like I appreciate what they did for me at that time because maybe that's what I needed. But when I finally started listening to myself, only like 3 months ago, that's when my blessings really started to come in. Like I manifested this book I'm writing. I manifested the movie script I'm writing. I manifested a whole move 200 miles away from where I was. I manifested my divine counterpart. Like, all my blessings started coming in as soon as I started really tuning into me. And again, I can't emphasize enough that when I was going through that really hard time and I was doing all that research and feeding my mind, my heart was right there, and she wasn't screaming. I had to tune into her. She's saying, like, just come home, come here, go within. And I bite myself in the butt, like, or kick myself in the butt, whatever the saying is. I'm like, what would have happened if I had just listened to that? Would I be where I'm at today? But you know what? My biggest blessings came out of my hardest times at the same time. Like, I am a powerful freaking, whatever you want to call it, healer. I'm a badass, okay? Not to be like cocky or arrogant, but like my authentic self is so powerful. I have seen the literal depths of hell in my head. Like, while I may not have played out in the 3D, obviously, because I'm not in hell, but I have seen some crazy shit. I have felt some crazy energies. And because of that, like I've said in one of my videos, it's like a slingshot. The further back into hell you go, when you finally let go, it's like a math line. Like, here's 0, here's the negative numbers, here's the positive numbers. If you go so far back into the negative and you let go, you're going to go that equivalent amount of light, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So down, go up.
Yeah, it's like bipolar. Like, you go into the depressive, and then when you pop out of it, you go just as high into the positive.
Yes, absolutely, 100% agree with you in that. And when we started this conversation, you had talked about this one preacher or minister, I'm not sure her name, how she was saying to you, there's this divide between, when the time comes, you're going to go to heaven. And in my personal opinion, I don't see it necessarily as a divide, as more as on the exact same journey, that you need to go journeying through your own personal hell to get into your own personal heaven right here on earth, right here, right now. Not about when you die. It's happening in the present moment, in today, with the choices that we make in the now. And so, yes, the further you venture into the dark places, the further you will ascend into the lighter places. So tell me a little bit about some of your greatest challenges that you've faced along this process.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind is the first time I believed I was going to hell. And then the second time, even worse than that, was the second time I thought I was going to hell. And I believe I was meant to go through those experiences to come out of it and learn the lessons. Because the first one, I thought that was freaking bad. Oh my God, no way. The second time was way worse, way more painful.
So would you describe these times as dark night of the soul?
Oh, absolutely. If it's not that, I don't know what it was, because they were my rock bottoms. They completely changed me. No going back. No going back. Like, you don't go through something like that. At the time, I was like, I would not wish this on my worst enemy. That's how painful and unbearable it was. It was the second one. And it's funny because they both lasted 1.5 years. Can you imagine going 1.5 years thinking you're going to hell? God hates you. You have no hope in life. You want to die, but you can't because you're going to go to hell. You believe. You know what I mean? Like, there's no escaping. It's a horrible feeling. The only thing I could do was sleep. And even then was like, I would wake up and be like, fuck, I'm still here. I'm still in this situation. And it finally would get to a point in both those cases to where I was like, I would be so numb that I couldn't even cry about it. I couldn't function. No hope. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, I do know exactly what you mean. In those times, I'm curious because you mentioned sleep. Were you therefore in bed for a lot of the period of the time?
Oh yeah, and they had me on so many pills, like, because they thought I was crazy. They labeled me with all kinds of things, and I believe they tried to kill me once because they had me so dosed up one time to where I refused. It was one time in the hospital. they kept upping my milligrams or whatever. And I finally was like, I don't want that, because I had the right to refuse. And the next day, the doctor calls me in her office and she's like, oh, but we were so close. And I'm like, close to what? But yeah, so anyway, to answer your question, yes, I was in bed a lot of the times. I did get jobs just to take my mind off. But at the end of the day, I'm still like, even if I have a good time at work, it means nothing. It was hard to be a parent. It was hard to work. It was hard to do anything because I had no inspiration in life.
So when you went down the path of seeking medical help, was that because you thought that was what like, where do you go when you're in that kind of a state? I must go to the doctor because I don't know what else to do, or what brought you there?
What brought me there was, one, I was being pushed by family and friends and everyone who knew me, like, go. And at that point, I was like, I give up. I give up. And I think at that point, like, I have, believe it or not, I actually have good associations with the medical, like the hospitals or whatever, because I associate it somewhere in my mind with people are going to take care of me. People are going to help me. So I went in there mainly for that reason. Like, maybe somebody has some answers for me. Maybe somebody can help me. So it's funny because the first time I thought I was going to hell, I went in twice. The second time I thought I was going to hell, I went in twice. And it, like I said, it was mainly just like, I give up. Like, I don't know what to do with myself at this point. So roll me in, like, I don't know what to say, but that's where my brain was at. And it didn't help, because you go in there and they're like, chakras, Kundalini, they're like taking notes. Okay, delusional, psychotic, they're just labeling you with all these things because they've never heard of these things. And what they don't understand is that their medicine, I'm sure it helps in some cases with certain things, but it really just suppresses the things that are trying to express themselves. The things that need to be healed, the things that need to be cleared. They're like, let's put a Band-Aid on it. You won't feel it. It's still there, but you won't feel it. And that doesn't help. It doesn't help.
Yes, we certainly, moving forward, there is a gap between, there is a place in society for psychology and psychotherapy and psychiatry. But there also needs to be a place in society for spirituality and transpersonal psychology and understanding things from a spirit perspective, and bridging the gap between those two worlds is one of the fundamentals that I think a lot of light workers have to experience, so that they can stand forth and say, hey, listen, this is my experience. I was feeling this because I was going through these spiritual things, and this is what was missing. So this is next what we need to build. This is next what we need to create, so that there are safe places for people to go, especially in the West, because if we were in India or if we were in Thailand or somewhere like that, we could go to a local ashram, or we could go to the guru, or we could go to a monk at a Buddhist monastery and say, my world's falling apart. I don't know what to do. But that's not accessible to most of us here, and we wouldn't even know where to look. So there is a gap in society, I think, that is sorely needed as we go through this incredible awakening process, because a lot of people, as you say, get into this state and don't know where to turn. So they turn to the only place that they know. And unfortunately, that place is ill-equipped to fully comprehend what somebody is going through if they're experiencing a Kundalini awakening.
Yeah. And I'm glad I went, because I told my story, so they can no longer say, I've never heard of that. Yes, you have. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the more people who go in there and say these things, the more they might be like, okay, we can't ignore this anymore, because it's happening more and more every day, every wave that comes through. And again, like, I'm not trying to shame anyone in the medical field or make them feel bad, but I do feel change coming. Like, I can feel it. It's a thing. It's coming, at least on the timeline I'm on. And so I do feel that it's coming for sure.
So with those experiences that you had going into very dark places and facing what felt like being like you were ultimately going to go to hell, what were some of the blessings that or lessons that came out of that for you?
I want to share a dream with you that I had
Yes,
just recently.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I wrote about it on my page, but I want to talk about it because it was so incredible. I lay down for bed and I prayed to God. I said, I want to astral travel tonight. I never do that. I never do that. But I hear that you can set the intention to either like, hey, I really want to rest tonight. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. And so I was like, well, if that's true, I'm sure I can intend on doing it too. So I prayed to God. I said, please take me to be somewhere. I asked if I could be with my lover because we were separated physically. But anyway, so I had this dream. So I'm being like escorted out into this open area. Like there was like levels, floors people were standing on, and they're all watching me. And I have these angel wings on my back. And I hear this loud voice, and it's God. And he says, watch what she can do. And I flew up and I flew up, 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 up through all these layers, these energetic, vibratory frequency layers of heaven, right? And then I turned down and I flew down into hell, right? All the layers of hell. And I got scared because I was scared of getting like stuck there. But I know that's my subconscious fear still. And it was just incredible because it just shows like exactly what we're talking about. Like, it's infinite both ways. It's infinite. You can keep going either way, and you can always come back. You can always come back. And it was just so powerful. When I woke up, I was like, whoa. Another blessing. Like I said, I consider myself a master manifestor. Like I can, and I didn't get here alone. I can't take credit for what I can do alone. I've had some very wonderful people come into my life. I've even paid for mentorship. Absolutely life-changing. Like if you're going to invest, if you can invest and drop thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars into college, you can put some money in some spiritual mentorship. You know what I mean? Invest in yourself. And like, I took this course by Amber Valdez. Amber Valdez. It was called the Life Purpose Initiation. And oh my God, that changed my life. Changed my freaking life. She taught me through her course how to raise my vibration so high. And by doing that, like that was right before my big move, manifesting my divine counterpart, manifesting the book, manifesting the ability to do sessions. I can read people's energy now with their permission. I can read people's energy. I can teach them forgiveness. I can shift their energy. I can help them forgive whatever shame, guilt, fear, anger, sadness, whatever's blocking their manifestations. I can now help them work through that. And if it's not an immediate thing, like it's planting that seed, if that makes sense. And it may hit them a year from now, 5 years from now, but it's there. You know what I mean? I don't heal people directly. I teach them how to heal themselves, if that makes sense. Because
yes, ultimately, there's no such thing as healers, even though I would technically say, I'm trained as a Reiki master. One of the first things you learn as a healer is that you do nothing. You're just a conduit. You're a conduit, and either their soul is going to say, yes, I'm ready to heal, or their soul is going to say, no, take your stinking energy away. Don't want it.
Yeah, for sure. It's up to them. It's up to them. And that's totally fine. They'll do it when they're ready. I had people tell me things, and I had a healer look at me right in the face, and she goes, I can't pull you to where I'm at. Like I can't make you see what I see in you when I was going through my dark time. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, I don't see it, but I see it now. I see what she's talking about now, some other blessings. I'm thinking of my mom. My mom passed away.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you. But yeah, she passed away. It was either 2020, 2021, something like that. And now she's with me all the time. and she's a beautiful evolved angel, and she's here in my life now, and like I can pray to her and communicate with her all the time. And I don't know why that's coming up now. Like maybe she's here with me right now. Maybe that was her popping through. So, oh, one of my greatest blessings. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't think of this. So, warning, darkness. I didn't believe in this kind of stuff until it actually happened to me. I thought it was just movie bullshit, whatever. And I know that there's a lot of people who don't believe me, and I don't care. I became freaking possessed. Okay, there was an energy in me that was not me, and it was talking. It was like out my mouth, like crazy language, like kind of like Latin or I don't even know what. My electronics would go off all the time. I couldn't sleep. Like I remember laying down for bed one night, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, and my daughter's tablet, which is off, the screen's black, and it goes, "Let's play a game. Let's see who rolls the dice first." And I was like, what is going on? So there was a lot of like electric activity going on, and like involuntary bodily movements. I was standing at the counter. There was a big glass dish next to me. My arm just randomly, like, boom, knocks it off. Glass shattered, went all into my legs, made me bleed. And it was like laughing at me, you know, calling me all kinds of insults and names and telling me I'm sick. Anyway, so one night I'm laying there. It's actually like 5 a.m. And this energy is getting really intense, violent. And I called somebody and I said, hey, I need a priest. Like, I am possessed. I need an exorcism, whatever. And basically, I don't remember what happened, but either way, the priest didn't come. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to do this myself, right? I had stolen a book from a church, like a hymn book. And I put my hand on it and I started praying. And I'm like raising my vibration, right? And I open it up and I start saying the words out of the hymns. I'm like, Jesus Christ, in the name of Jesus. I'm like just raising my vibration. All of a sudden, I just start channeling light language. I'm not going to do it now. I promised I wouldn't do it live. But I started channeling light language. Like I had always heard of it and I had seen it on YouTube and stuff, but I didn't know that I would ever be able to do it. And I basically talked this thing. I felt it go out of my body. I have this on videotape, by the way. The demon or whatever was in me, my phone starts, YouTube pops up, starts playing this like gangster rap to like mess with the frequency that I was channeling, right? Like it's trying to intervene and interfere. It doesn't want to leave. And I could feel it fighting. But yeah, and at the end of the day, I talked it out of my body. I felt it leave my feet, and I continued to film. And as I'm talking, this blue orb starts forming in my mouth, like on video, you could see it. And then the cops came, I got arrested, but so it's just been a wild ride. But I consider that a blessing because I didn't know I had that in me. I didn't know I had that power. But like, again, like I'm not here by myself and nobody is. You have the angels, you have your guides, you have source, you have spirit, whatever you want to call it. Like,
yes, a lot of people, I think, would like in the spiritual community to focus solely on the light aspects and not understanding if there's light energy, there is equally, negative or dark or shadow energy. And depending on how people view that, they can turn it into some real Hollywood kind of thing, or they can look at it as, just lesser evolved energies that aren't, or that are further away from the light. And so in this time period that we're in, unfortunately, your story is very common. There are a lot of people that talk about spiritual warfare, that talk about experiencing. I myself have experienced some darker things that I have not gone into too much detail with on my channel, although I have talked about spiritual crisis a number of times because it is a battle within,
Yeah.
so that you become, I view it more as an initiation so that you stand in your own power and you do exactly what it is what you did, which is to say, I'm not, no, get out of me, and there's a variety of ways that people use this. The most simplest is calling in by the power of Jesus Christ, in the name of Jesus Christ, by the power of the divine spirit. Or there's long incantations. I
Yeah.
have very long incantations that I have used at times to like clear the energy, clear my energy. People talk about clearing their energy. Well, what the heck do you think you're clearing it of? You're clearing it of shadow energies and things that are less desirable and don't want you to raise your vibration. Using sage is another one. Using high frequency sounds, aromatherapies, frankincense, things like that. So there are ways to clear the energy around you. And just so, if anybody out there is feeling scared by any of this, the point of it is nothing is more powerful than you. That is the one lesson at the fundamental, that at its core, nothing is more powerful than me. Get the fuck out. Go away,
Yeah.
go into the light. I'm transmuting you, I'm healing you, I'm clearing you, I'm setting the intention that you need to be gone. And in so doing, you step into your power. And has it happened to you since?
With the possession? Oh my God,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
No, but I have dealt with them in other people. And all I can say is you need to, if anyone's dealing with that right now or something of that sort, any kind of darkness, what's coming through that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to point out that I don't know if you know this, sage is like an antibiotic. It will clear out positive energy and bad energy. So like the both, and that's why it's important to burn like Palo Santo after to bring more good in. And then the other thing that's coming to mind is you just got to raise your vibration. Like you got to come to a frequency to where those things can't hang. Like if you are at such a positive, good, light energy or whatever, they literally can't feed off of you. You know what I mean?
Yes. I also would like to add just out there, because one thing that I've noticed in my own awakening path is for anyone that's still participating with lower frequency energies in their own life through addictions and behaviors, you are weakening yourself, spiritually speaking. The alcohol, the drug usage, all of these certain types of foods that are keeping you not in your best health. That the healthier you are, the less likely you're going to experience these types of energies. The alcohol and drug usage became a very hard no for me on my journey. And I've witnessed in other people that still use a lot of drugs, that it's basically like opening the door and then wondering why you have moths flying in.
Did you say moths?
Yeah, moths. If
Okay.
you open your door, you're going to get a bunch of insects. So don't open your door.
Got
Be
it.
as healthy and as clean and as clear as you possibly can, and then you're not going to be letting in things you don't want in. It's called spirits for a reason, alcohol.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are some, what are the most useful tools and techniques that you have used to get you out of these hellish places, out of these dark spiritual warfare-ish kind of places? And I don't even like to use the term spiritual warfare, because honestly, I look at it much more as an initiation. I do look at it like each of us is here to battle with our own shadow and battle with shadow temptation in the literal, so that we stand into our own divine light. So what are some tools you've said a couple times the phrase raise your frequency? How do you suggest people do that?
Yeah, so first I want to say that was a very loving perspective of spiritual warfare. I like that. I love that. So some number one, meditation. Like I used to wake up every morning, meditate, start out with like 5 minutes, graduate to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. And then before bedtime too. Love yourself, like fill yourself with unconditional love. Imagine your chakras full of unconditional love. prayer, praying to God, feeling that God loves you. And if you don't, like, explore, what are those blocks? Why do I feel like I don't deserve love or whatever? But I mean, healing frequencies, yoga, exercise, asking yourself.
There's a Michael Stevens that's listening to us, and he's also recommending yoga. So yoga, yin.
Yeah, I'm doing yoga.
I highly recommend yin for anybody in my age group. Chelsea's age group is a little bit younger and more nimble and fit. So, she can probably get away with some of the more active yoga styles like hatha and things like that. But if you are over the age of 50, you have a lot of trauma, your body has injuries, you're carrying extra weight, please take this warning. Do not go to a yoga studio and hurt yourself. Please,
I don't even do that.
stay and do restorative yoga or a yin yoga with Cassandra. I highly recommend here on YouTube. She has lots of free yin yoga because you can very easily injure yourself in yoga. So yes, I agree with yoga. I do it almost every single day, but do be careful of what kind you choose.
Yeah, I may be young, but I feel like I've been very traumatized in my life. I have a lot of emotions. I didn't even know how to tap into my emotions until I was 28. And that was 5 years ago. So like I have a lot of stored up emotions. I've been through some pretty deep trauma. So I like to take it slow too. Nothing wrong with that at all. Like I love to really sit there, do yoga, and sometimes I bawl my freaking eyes out for a long time, and I love it because I know, like, I'm not afraid to cry because I know that it's healing. It's what do you call it? Cathartic, is that the word? I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, another thing I wanted to say was someone taught me, another healing thing is like, ask yourself, how can I love myself in this moment? And almost every time you'll get an answer, whether it's like sit down and relax with a cup of coffee, or I know coffee isn't the best thing for you. It works for me for the time being. Sit down with a cup of tea, or take a hot bath, or take a nap, go for a drive, whatever. How can I love myself in this moment? And just treat yourself, in a healthy way.
I love that. And I want to reiterate that for anyone who's listening of like, how can I love myself at this moment? I do something very similar. My question is to my body. I speak specifically to my body and say, what do you need right now? And I let my body answer because the body knows a lot more than the mind. And when we start listening to our body's needs and our body's sensations, which includes heart, then you will get the answer. Body will say, I need to exercise, I need to stretch, I need to walk, I need to move, I need to eat, and that's where you need to stay focused on is a mindfulness into the body. Is a huge practice. So you talked also a little bit about, and I think this is true for probably 98% of the population, that you didn't know how to process your emotions. So what became your processes, or do you have a process for processing emotions now?
Meditation.
So what specific, for somebody who's never meditated before, how do you meditate? What is your style that you use? As there's many types of meditation out there. What do you recommend?
So I know that when you sit down to meditate and you're new, you've got all this stuff going on, right? And it's kind of like, mine is a lot more calmed down now. In fact, I'm kind of at the point where, like, even if I sit down to meditate, it's kind of quiet. I like to think that I live in like a flow of meditation now. And I'm saying that because there's books about that. Like, it's definitely achievable to live that way. But when you're first starting out, it's kind of like, I like to watch where those thoughts go, because a lot of times when I get running thoughts, running programs like that, it wants to be heard. So I'm like, it's like worrying. It's like a worry. It's like, so let me listen to that. Let me solve the problem in my head. What needs to be heard? What's trying to get my attention? And I just pay attention to the loudest one first and kind of sort it out, and then take action if necessary. A lot of times it is something in your 3D life that needs to be planned out, paid attention to, processed. Or sometimes if you don't know how to start, you can find guided meditations on YouTube. I've used them. Whatever you're looking for, whether it's like, hey, I want to connect to my spirit guides, or I need help falling asleep. I need to find an intentional video to heal my anger. It's all at your fingertips. You know what I mean? It just depends on what you're looking for and what you feel you need. So I don't think there's one right way to do it for sure.
Yes,
but I would
love
recommend
the way you were
now.
talking about just that you sometimes these things need to be heard, and it's about hearing them from the observer point of view. So you're not overly engaged with them. You're just observing. Oh, look, my mind's really upset about this particular thing going on right now. Sure, I'll give you a minute to listen to it. And being in the observer allows the higher self to be in control of the conversation.
I love that you brought up your higher self. Yes, because your higher self knows what to do with it. Even if you don't, your higher self will either give you a solution or transmute it, take it away, or, it's just because sometimes all you need is just a realization like, oh, everything's okay. And then you're like, okay, I can get rid of that one, And another thing I was going to say is like, start up small, set a timer on your phone, try 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And then just gradually increase that time as it gets easier to meditate, for sure. Like, do as long as you want or can, like, you'll know when you're ready. If you still have racing thoughts, maybe sit there a little bit longer. And I love that saying where it's like, you should meditate 10 minutes every day, unless you're really busy, then meditate for an hour. Because it's true. Like, you have to train your nervous system to slow down, because that's the only way it's going to heal. So if you're having a really busy day and you feel like you got to go fast, train your body, walk slower. And if you're late, you know what? Like, I love Kanye West's song. He says, class started 2 hours ago. Oh, am I late? It's kind of like, you're the boss of your life. Like, let go of expectations, let go of the stress, like, calm your nervous system. It's so important. And you can handle anything that happens. God is there to reroute anything. That there's no fucking up,
Yes, well, I think we're hardwired in this society to be in a constant state of doing and accomplishing. And if we aren't reaching those standards, we feel very like we're failing. I did a video this morning called Don't Give Up. If that's something that you're fighting with, please go watch that video today, because the expectations that we place on ourselves while we're going through Kundalini awakening, we need to readjust those expectations. If you're having a Kundalini awakening, that's kind of all consuming. And so, if you're not succeeding in other areas while you're going through profound healing and profound change and profound experiences, give yourself a bit of a break. Like, we can't be both in the old world and the new world and in between all at the same time.
For sure. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like a lot of people that I found going through Kundalini awakenings, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like at one point or another, we get blessed with the opportunity to either not have to work at all or work easier jobs, because we are going through a freaking lot. It's a full-time job. There's no normal days here anymore. When you have a Kundalini awakening, there's no normal days. Like, you wake up and you're presented with different things, different emotions, different energies. And it's like, my God, like, it's overwhelming, like you said. Yeah.
Yes, it's a full-time job going, or it's more than a full-time job because it doesn't end. It's a 24-hour-a-day job that's happening, and then you're still expected to have a life outside of yourself. What advice would you give to anyone who just got their wake-up call, who's just starting down the path where you were back in 2015, not knowing what's happening, feeling depressed, contemplating the meaning of their life, and having an existential angst? What advice would you give?
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, calm down. It's okay. Really, it is okay. You are so loved. You are not alone, whether it's more people in the world or in the spiritual world. this is a good thing. Be thankful this is happening to you because it's going to change your life. It's going to rock your world. You're going to be a better person. You're going to live a better life. Like, bring it on, embrace it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's happening for you. It's not
Yeah.
happening to you.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so what resources, where would you point them? Where do you wish somebody went back in that day? Where do you wish, with what you know now, what do you wish you knew then? What resources or people or what direction would you say, go check this out? This might help you.
This is where I'm lacking a little bit because, like I said, I was afraid to like look at other people's work. I would read
But that's
the
okay. If you're saying you don't need to, if you're saying that what they need to do is sit in stillness and go within, then that's their own, that's a good answer too. I'm not saying there has to be an external answer. There can be an internal answer.
Yeah, that definitely, number one. I mean, my road was really rocky and I wish it hadn't been so crazy. So I would recommend reading The Raw Material Law of One. I'm reading that right now. That book has a lot of positive information in there. What else? I don't know. I'm drawing some work by Eckhart Tolle, maybe. Just
Yes,
different
I
things.
found Eckhart Tolle to be exceptionally like Eckhart Tolle is like taking a master's level. You have to read it more than once. You have to give yourself a break. You have to read a paragraph and then go meditate on that for a while. It's not an easy read. It's not supposed to be an easy read. It's supposed to be a slow and steady practice, a practical application of being in the observer that we talked about, observing the thoughts, practicing being in presence, which is an everyday practice because the mind would like to be anywhere but here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think is it whose book is it? Be Present Now. Is that his book or The Power of Now or something? I think
Power
they're
of Now. Yeah, his
yeah,
book is
something
The
like
Power
that.
of Now.
Yeah.
What
All
I'd
very
love for you to offer some final thoughts. We're coming up on an hour here. Some final thoughts to everyone out there about who's going through an awakening. Some as well. You can add in a little bit more about what services that you offer if people are looking, and where do they find you, and how do they get in touch?
Yeah, so first I want to say I love you guys. I love you all, everyone. Like good, bad, whatever you're in. I love you all. I'm here for anyone who needs help because I have been to such dark places and that was my biggest blessing because now I can pull you out of there. I can help pull you out. I can help you learn to love yourself. Yes, because you all deserve it. You deserve love from yourself, from God, from people. You can find me on Facebook at Chelsea Williamson. Instagram is Polarity Princess 1111. Shoot me a message. We can do some free consultations. And I would love to just speak life into you. Like tell you everything's going to be okay. I don't care what you did. There is nothing that is unforgivable. I promise you. Like this is all for your bettering. Even your deepest, darkest wounds are going to be your biggest gifts. So whatever you're struggling with, I can give a whack at it. You know what I mean? So thank you so much
That's
for
wonderful news because there's a lot of people out there that are waking up to the reality that they have done some maybe less than desirable things, and to be able to go to somebody who's not going to judge them and who's going to love them and forgive them and understand what it is to fear going to hell. Chelsea is a woman that you can go and speak to and who can help and assist you. She is the healer you did not know that you need. So
no judgment.
yes, that's wonderful. So I have her name in the title of this. You'll be able to find her and absolutely give her a shout. And you never know, because sometimes it's very lonely out there when you don't feel like you have anyone to turn to and you feel like you're facing your own crises of darkness.
For
Before
sure.
we sign off tonight, I want to say a huge amount of thank you for Chelsea for joining me tonight on U Talk. If you are wanting to join me on U Talk, please get in touch with me and set up a preliminary interview, and we'll get you down on the books. I am booked all the way until mid-November. So get your name and message in so that we can get you on the calendar. The way to get in touch with me is will be in the description. Otherwise, email me at justbeing@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook as Be Freedom, or you can hop into the Spiritual Warriors support group and talk to any of us in there to get some additional help. Thank you, and thank you for all of your likes, your shares, your subscriptions. It means the world to get the world to me to get the messages out there for all of the people that are suffering in darkness and feeling alone right now. This is a struggle. If anyone has shown here tonight, Chelsea has that look, you can go from the depths of hell and bounce into the absolute brightness that is this wonderful light worker's life. She's just emitting so much light. And so if she can do it, you can do it. So do not struggle in silence. Do not feel that you are alone and should be feeling shameful for anything that you have experienced. I love that Chelsea has been able to show up tonight and show us that we can talk about these things. We can throw the stigma into the trash. That's where it belongs. And we can start bridging the gap between psychology and spirituality so that we can come to a place of healing within. Before I go, last words, Chelsea, anything?
I no, I just want to reiterate, like, I love you guys so much. And thank you, B, for this opportunity. It's been so much fun.
Thank you, and thank you, and thank you. And to everyone out there in YouTube land, mwah, love to you all, and peace out.